Standard greeting. I'm EDDF Toxic. That was a 2 hour track challenge I did on July 12th. I'm rather happy with that one. It's when I first heard it the next morning, it kind of reminded me of an old man showing me around Viridian Town. I just looked it up because I couldn't remember. Basically, the tutorial in the earlier Pokemon games. But there is actually a bit of a different story to that one. Well, first off, I just noticed OBS disconnected apparently at some point there. Hang on, let me take a drink of water. I keep getting ahead of my own words here. Anyways, the reason it sounds like an old Game Boy game is because I made it using FamiTracker, and the reason I did that is because I was almost done setting up Ableton, and I wanted to start using Ableton instead of a Cubase. But I figured I'd do FamiTracker for 1 week longer during this switch. Yeah. Anyways, the rest of the story is a few weeks ago, like quite a few weeks ago, where would it be? Back in May 24th, I discovered this film on YouTube called What If. It's a film adaptation of Life is Strange, which I love Life is Strange, in case you didn't know that. And I quite enjoyed this film as well. And I lost my train of thought. Where was I? Found What If. The next morning, I had this idea of, like, I've been wanting to practice writing lyrics as well. Sometimes I do quick little things during the 2 hour track challenge. I've done that a few times. So I had this idea that was inspired by one particular scene in the film, and it wrote that it ended up being too long to try in a 2 hour track challenge, so I didn't do it then. But that night I did do a 2 hour track challenge, which was Walking Home Alone. But that kind of went off on its own. I kind of forgot about these lyrics for a while. And then a couple weeks later, I started thinking about them again. Showed them to my vocal coach, got some feedback on them, started working more on them, and I decided I'd watch the film again. This was July 11th that I did that, which happened to be a Wednesday again. So the next day was a 2 hour track challenge for me, and this 2 hour track challenge to be specific. Near the end of my workday, I was listening to a Spotify playlist that has a collection of it's most of the soundtrack from Life is Strange, Before the Storm, and Captain Spirit, and some trailers. So that's just what I was listening to in the background while I was working. At the end of the workday, Through the Cellar Door by Lanterns on the Lake was playing, which is a song that I listened to on the train in episode 1 of Before the Storm. So I finished up work, I went out for a walk for an hour, and that song was going through my head the whole time. I got some dinner, and got back home, and the song was still going through my head, so I decided to try aiming in that sort of direction with the FamiTracker style song. And that's what came out of it. So it was focusing on like some little slides rather than large pitch bends like I've done so many times with the FamiTracker, because this was the 4th time I've used it. Yeah, I'll show more of that in a bit. So, like I was saying, when I first heard it the next morning, it kind of sounded like a Pokemon tutorial. In earlier games, at least. I've never really played anything past Gen 2. But if I think about the train scene and close my eyes, sometimes I can kind of picture like a pixel art animation of them sitting on the train with that music playing, which I think is kind of cool. I'll play it one more time here just to in case you want to try picturing that as well after here, or if you want to hear it after the story. I'll just stop talking and play it. I guess the one thing I didn't really mention in my initial telling of the story is the title. I decided on this title the other day. I wanted the title to be something related to the train scene, but still sort of ambiguous enough that it's not like it's an official theme song or anything. So I was originally coming up with ideas like Through the 8-bit door, which is going to play on the Through the Cellar Door, 8-bit boxcar, 2 pulses and a triangle, which is a play on 2 truths and a lie, which they play on the train. But ultimately, the other day I went and replayed this scene in collector mode, started writing down just a whole bunch of random quotes, and from the quotes that I wrote down, I picked "I got on this train with you, didn't I?" And chose that as the title. So there's the story of the title. That said, let's jump over into FamiTracker. That scene right there. See a little bit more of how I did this. And yeah, I actually don't know where to start. We already know how it sounds. So essentially what I kind of did was I used the triangle for bass and pulse for not bass, treble, that's the word. And this is something I normally do. So this is usually in the 2nd octave. This is usually in the 3rd octave. And it kind of alternates in between the bass and the treble, using the stops to really make the alternation effect take an effect. And then down here, did these tiny little slides Like I was saying earlier, I didn't want to do these big pitch bends like I've done before, but just a gentle little slide in a few places. Maybe I'll just solo this track and show that little bit. And then over here. And basically it's a whole bunch of stuff like that. For drums I use the noise channel, which is kind of what I normally do. I want to, maybe one day I'll break out of that, but not yet. And essentially I used two sort of drums. With the lower stuff, or the zero being like a kick, which actually I named the instrument kick. Basically just the volume fades really fast. But they kind of sound like hats, I think. It uses the same instrument, but it's just higher values. So like I got A and D and E and things like that. I think it's actually all above 9, because that's hexadecimal. But what I was actually originally aiming for, and I just really had no idea how to do, I'm sure drummers have a name for this, but I'm not a drummer, is when they go like this with it against the rim of the drum. Had that sound in my head. Was that even on frame? Yes, it was. Cool. But I think that turned out pretty cool too. So I'll take a drink of water here. If anybody has any questions, of course, please feel free to ask. Big part of the reason I do this live is to have that opportunity to see if you have any questions about specific things that I did in the song. I'm just trying to find the next. Oh yeah, so after this first frame, I added the second pulse, which kind of does this a little bit of higher melody up in the 4th octave. But other than that, it's pretty similar for a little bit. I think that's the same, yeah. Here's where it changes. Please, FamiTracker. Essentially, I just wanted a bit of a variation every once in a while. Got a bit of a slide there, and this almost sounded like a slide too, didn't it? No, it's just like an ascending thing. And then it goes back to the normal thing. Still the normal thing. Is that different or is that a normal? Oh yeah, this one. So that one there is actually probably the part that I'm least proud of. I took a step away to just use the washroom real quick and started thinking about Through the Cellar Door. I didn't listen to the song the entire time while doing this challenge. It was kind of all taking concepts from my head, from the song that was going through my head. So it kind of got into my head a little bit better while I stepped away, because I was kind of didn't really know where to go with the song from here. So when I stepped away, it started going through my head, and it came up with this bit of a bigger slide. There's kind of a powerful break in Through the Cellar Door. That I kind of tried to take some elements that I could think of. There's a bit of a bigger slide, so that's kind of what that is. It actually starts off a little bit slower and then speeds up. And then stops. But this does feel to me like it just got shoved in there. Just kind of ends, and then the normal part resumes. So that part I'm not too crazy over. But you know, you can't be happy with everything when you're Doing everything in 2 hours. Let's see here. These three would be the same normal stuff. Oh, actually, that's a variation. I think that's the same variation as I had before, though. Let's see. I was really good about keeping these things organized again. Like, you can even see the DPCM channel that I haven't used yet. I set it all to 0 because it's all blank. So I just set it to show that it's the same thing. Let's see, 1312 is the same as the first variation, I think, yeah. So 0, 0, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 1 is the second variation. 1, 3, 1, 2 is the first variation again, and then it kind of starts over from the beginning of the song here. I liked how it was looping, and after I did the challenge, I started thinking maybe there's a way to loop from within FamiTracker with one of these commands. But I didn't think about that until after I had painfully copied all of these from up here. So, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. I just took all those and manually copied them down here, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, yada, 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 to make the song loop. And then I had a little ending. So the ending is this last frame here. And I was kind of making like a slow strum on the guitar effect. Which I think it turned out kind of cool. And then it stops. And then this part here sounded more like a glitch than I wanted it to. I used the same kick instrument so the volume fades really fast. But essentially what I wanted is kind of like just a quick little echo to end things off with. So like once everything stops, it just kind of echoes a little bit. But that didn't turn out quite like I wanted it to. And that's about it. So, that said, I am going to quickly whip up a video for this so I can put it up on YouTube. And I got a template for that. So I'll just pull that up. And this is the last piece of these premieres. So if anybody has any more questions, don't hesitate because I'll be going offline soon. July 12th, I got on this train with, didn't I? That's probably the longest title I have on these things. Before I forget, I should probably put that in here as well because this is how I keep track of which ones I've premiered and which ones I haven't. There we go. So there's that. So I'll export that to the correct date, 7/12, close when complete, save the file. And then this is the part that component C called cool. 7/12. So now I have this image and this file in a folder. I gotta change the date here. 7/12. Oh 7/12. 2018 07/12, and I feel like there's one more. There is not. So I'll save that, open a command prompt, paste that in, and let that run. And this is how I make the final video that I'll be uploading to YouTube. So that said, it seems nobody else is interested in talking to me today, so I'm going to end off the stream, let that finish encoding the visualizer into the video and whatnot. And for those of you who watch regularly my streams, which I don't know anybody. Anyways, I'm not doing a Saturday stream this week. Take a break to work on some other projects, some non-stream projects. So I'll be back next week with the next 2-hour track challenge. Actually, speaking of next week and 2-hour track challenges, the 2-hour album challenge is coming up very quickly. That is my command just finished. That's the first weekend of August, the 2-hour album challenge, which is an event where a bunch of us get together, make a 2-hour track challenge based on a theme that is randomly selected at the beginning of the challenge. And at the end of the weekend, we compile our results onto an album. So it's not the same 2 hours, but essentially we created an album in 2 hours. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of us stream while we're making the music. I do for this challenge. Normally I don't stream my 2-hour track challenges in the making, but this one I do. So watch out for that. If you're interested in trying to create a challenge like that, I should put the link, if I can figure out how to use my computer. It's just holding me back now. I love that I can just take out my earbuds and not worry about taking off my mic. There's the link to the 2-hour album challenge page. Geez, apparently it was a long day at work. So if you're interested in that, check that out. Other than that, I'll see you around, and have a good life.